Hello, Dan.
Hi, Bach.
Welcome everyone to chat with my friend Dr. Dan Norton and myself, Dr. Bach Ho. Rena Kay will be back with us in 2026. She's on holiday. I'm wishing her a lot of happiness. And I had planned, if Rena had been free, to discuss the topic of feeling obligation towards family, especially during holidays like Christmas. And I had the sudden thought and impulse to reach out to my friend Dan. Uh, Dan and I, Dan does not come from the organic intelligence world. He and I are both from the philosophy world. We're both professional philosophers, PhDs in philosophy. We're both fans of Ayn Rand. We're both serious thinkers. And Dan is a nice, chill guy. And he has a YouTube channel where he talks about Ayn Rand's philosophy. I'll link that later on. And I thought, let's just invite Dan on and have a chat. I've done about a trillion videos on organic intelligence, and so why not just try one, pivot towards some Ayn Rand, some philosophy, to prep all of you for Christmas. So today our topic is some Ayn Rand for Christmas, with two philosophers, and I'm gonna present to Dan some. I think I'm gonna be devil's advocate and present some content to Dan for him to respond to as he wishes to respond. But actually, first, do you want to say anything at all, Dan, to introduce yourself or anything? Just feel free for a moment right now before I start off with the devil's advocate stuff, if you're
Okay.
interested. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned that you were going to put my channel link in the description. That's all I would say. So I do have a channel which promotes Ayn Rand, who was, if you don't know, she's a best known for her novels Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead. Bach has Atlas Shrugged in the background there, and I love her philosophy, which just in a nutshell is she's pro reason, egoism, and capitalism. And she calls her philosophy objectivism, and I promote that on my channel. And I also do live streams, so I invite you to check it out at Dan Norton 1. That's my address. So thanks, Bach, for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And mentioning reason, egoism, and capitalism will have turned off a lot of my viewers, which is fine because I already do that with when I talk about Ayn Rand. Because many of my viewers are not Ayn Rand people; they're more organic intelligence, which is often quite politically left on many of them. But we're here, and we're here to fight for our values and seek the truth and think critically. And thank you. So,
And
devil's advocate.
what she means by egoism and
Oh
capitalism,
yes,
that itself is controversial, and maybe that could be part of the reason some people are
yes.
turned off by
Oh
that.
yeah. There's a
And
lot.
maybe we'll get into that some today.
Yeah. I'm capping this to the so Ren and I usually meet for half an hour. I know that Dan is used to really long live streams, several hours. My tradition is about half an hour. So, but maybe we can do that in the future. If it happens today, that's cool. Also, yeah, whatever happens naturally, organically happens, and then maybe in the future also. So, may I be devil's advocate and just launch something at you?
Please.
Okay. So I'm going to be a person who's not antagonistic towards selfishness, but also not buying into it 100%. I'll be the so-called like reasonable middle of the road common sense maybe kind of person. So here's what I want to say to you. Dan, I'm not saying selfishness is bad. I think it's good to be selfish sometimes, but it's also good to be unselfish sometimes. And you have to have both in life. You can't be too extreme on selfishness. You can't be too extreme on unselfishness. It has to be a healthy balance. And just like, well, I don't need metaphors. You have to have a healthy balance, and that balance can come up to our attention during holiday season when, yeah, there's people get stressed out around holidays, and one reason for this is they feel obligated to see family, care for family, be with family, even though it may be stressful or they don't want to, or they have, or a family member asks them to can you just get along with your cousin or uncle, even though they were abusive to you, or you don't like them, or your politics differ, or whatever? Can you just survive a 1 to 3 hour evening and be a little bit unselfish for others? So I think many people, first, there's holidays are stressful for many people, and they feel obligated to do what other people want them to do, which I guess someone might say selfishness, being pro-selfish is a good antidote for that. At the same time, many people feel, well, unselfishness is important. So maybe the holidays are a time for us to really think about amplifying unselfishness a bit. Maybe we're too selfish during the non-holiday times. I'm making things up as I go along, Dan. I didn't prepare this, so this is just stream of consciousness. Okay, so the point is, Dan, philosopher Dr. Dan Norton, uh, you philosophers are very like smart, but you're kind of detached from reality. I'm trying to live in the world, and the real world, we can't have these like weird abstract theories about selfishness 100% all the time. We're trying to live in the world, and the world is messy, and holiday season is here, and I feel obligated to hang out with family. I was raised that way, and I think selfishness is important sometimes, but also unselfishness. So I know I was kind of messy in my offering to you just now, but can you take it from there? You know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So one way to think of should you have a balance between selfishness and selflessness, or selfishness and altruism, or selfishness and self-sacrifice. There's different terms, egoism and altruism. There's a lot of different terminology surrounding this topic, self-interest, self-sacrifice. The way Ayn Rand thought of it, which has influenced me very heavily, is that what that would actually be is a balance between food and poison. Now that might seem like a very shocking or controversial way to think about it, but that is how Ayn Rand actually thought about it. She didn't think that there was anything good about self-sacrifice or selflessness, or altruism, but that depends on how she understood that term. What does that term actually mean? A lot of people think that altruism or selflessness just means being kind to others, just being a nice person. But that whitewashes what selflessness actually is, in Rand's view, at least. Now, if you do some research on this and read Auguste Comte, he was a French philosopher of the 19th century. He was the one who actually coined the term altruism. He did not uh, merely mean by it being a nice person, being a kind person, being a benevolent person. He meant something more like subordinating your own interests to the interests of others, sacrificing yourself, undercutting your self-interest for the sake of others. Now, I haven't read Comte myself, so I'm giving you a secondhand report from other objectivist philosophers who have read Comte and have reported.
May I want to give you as much freedom to speak as possible, but could you aim more towards like not too intellectual, not too other philosophers, just kind of like
Okay,
more to the ground, more living life, if possible, for our purposes? Okay.
sure.
I'm not trying to censor you too much, so I feel a little bit weird about interrupting you, but we're trying to aim towards like living life and not
Okay,
like history, philosophy kind of stuff. Yeah.
okay, yeah, and feel free to
Yeah.
interrupt me more if you want me to go in a different direction. So,
Actually, could I just barrel in again?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'm still devil's advocate. So that's the problem with you philosophers. I asked you about selfishness and unselfishness, and you told me about Auguste Comte and the etymology of the word altruism. Look, I'm Christmas is coming. I'm gonna I'm gonna make my kids after Christmas meal. I make we go as a family. I make my young children go and give out turkeys to the homeless and feed, and we go to soup kitchens and feed and spoon soup to homeless people, and my children don't like it. They want to just play with their new video games, but I say, I'm raising you not to be selfish. You have to be unselfish. It's good to be kind. It's good to help the homeless. Don't you feel better after spoon feeding or giving soup to the homeless? unselfishness is good, and you philosophers, especially the Ayn Rand philosophers, you're saying what? Just kill the homeless and never help them, and just tell my kids to play video games and don't care about other people.
Right. So this is a sort of straw man view
Okay.
of selfishness. It's a caricature of what genuine self-interest or concern for yourself consists of. Um, so imagine you did actually go kill some homeless
Okay, maybe that
person.
was a bit extreme. Go ahead though. I didn't mean to.
Think,
I got carried away with that one. Yeah.
okay,
But
well,
go ahead. Go ahead.
so I think it's important to take words seriously. Words have
Yeah, yeah.
meanings.
Yeah.
And I think part of the problem in the culture in the world is that people don't think carefully about these terms, and they use them in a sort of woozy
Mm.
way. But if you really think about them, I think you might come to a different evaluation of, whether these are good things or bad things, selfishness and unselfishness. So I thought maybe you wanted to jump in there for a second. That's why I paused.
I was gonna ask you, okay, you're saying it's words have precise meanings and it's important to be precise about them. That's an interesting thought. I agree with you 100,000%. I agree with you completely. I think you're right. You are right. And I think that many people in the world will disagree with us and say, you're doing something violent to us by requiring us to be precise with words or know their exact meanings. People can mean different things by selfishness. People can mean different things by unselfishness. You just have to ask what people mean when they say certain words. And I think that's so. I'm moving into epistemology, and I wanted to stick with the theme of feeling obligation towards family during holidays. But I myself, with Rena also in our live chats, we just tend to go off on. Okay, so some people will disagree with us and think that you're allowed to use words in a woozy way and not have clear meanings. That's something that you could talk to if you're interested. Another question I would have is, okay, what is the exact meaning of selfishness and unselfishness if you think there's an exact meaning that people and why is that meaning correct and why do people have to use that meaning rather than whatever meanings they prefer to use? So anything that you want to do there would be good. If yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, precise meanings of
Damn
words.
it, yeah, yeah.
Um, well, maybe I can give a concrete example of how this, like, what is a type of person who is often thought of as selfish? Someone who is a rude jerk to others. Maybe he cuts in line. He tells jokes at other people's expense. Someone who lies, cheats, and steals. A dictator, I think, is often called a selfish person. He's subordinating others and making them do his bidding. So these are often given as examples of selfish people, but also
Okay.
business people, like someone who, rich people, billionaires, millionaires, they earn tons of money, and like Bill Gates, right? You might think that's someone who earns all that money, at least if he doesn't give it away to charity or philanthropy, to just keep that money for himself, that would be a very selfish thing to do. So,
May I?
okay, you want to jump in? Go ahead.
Yeah, but I may be I'm self-conscious because I may be trying to control where you go. So if you get resentful, let me know. But I wanted to focus on the more the holiday and real life or not real life because you are talking about real life. I'm more folksy kind of example. So may I try to throw
Yeah,
an
yeah.
example at you? Okay, you're asking me what selfishness is for like a garden example or garden scenario. Here's what selfishness is. You go to family Christmas meal and you eat and drink, and then afterward, everyone except you is pitching in and cleaning the table and washing the dishes and cleaning up, and you're just you're the one who's on the couch not cleaning. You're the selfish bastard. You're the Ayn Rand person. This is why we need a balance. You have to have some, you have to do some cleaning, be a nice, caring, unselfish person. Sometimes clean, you ate your family's meal and you drank and you used dishes and you're not going to clean up. Yeah, no one, you're not obligated to, maybe no one asked you to, but everyone else is cleaning up and you're just going to stand by yourself. That's pretty selfish and immoral, someone might say. Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at that example, and I'm glad you're bringing back to the Christmas examples.
Yeah, and again, if you get resentful that I'm trying to control you, let me know. But I
No,
am willing
no.
to nudge. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So uh, what are what's the background and then the consequences? So we have this event in isolation. You're lying on the couch after your Christmas meal. You've stuffed yourself, and all the other people there, they're helping out, cleaning the dishes, cleaning up the table, and you're there on the couch.
Yeah.
Now, if you just look at that in isolation, I don't think you can really evaluate, is this person doing something right? Are they doing something wrong? What happened before Christmas? Are you who are lying on the couch? Are you the one who paid for the entire meal? Is it your hard work that put all that food on the table? And maybe you had a deal that I will pay for all the meal, and then
Oh,
in
this is what you do.
exchange,
No, no, I'm blocking that. No, no. You. One thing you like to do is whenever someone's throwing a party and offering free food and drink, you go for it and you don't like to help in return or return favors. uh that's a thing you like to do. And here at Christmas, family Christmas, you're doing the same thing. In fact, everyone else chipped in to help prepare Christmas meal and clean it, and you didn't help to prepare the Christmas meal or clean. And I'm offering that as a person who's selfish, and there must be something wrong with selfishness if that's happening. Yeah. So I'm not gonna
okay.
let you sneak around.
Okay, well, I wasn't trying to
I
sneak
know,
around.
I know.
Actually, my next example was going to be more in line with yours, which is, well, what if that's not the case? What if you weren't like responsible for paying for everything, but you're just kind of acting like a parasite? Everyone else is engaging in this sort of work and in order to prepare to have a nice Christmas dinner, and you're not contributing anything. You just benefit off of it. And what do we say about that? Well, that's a different sort of scenario. But is that really selfish? If by selfish you mean self-interested, how are those people going to feel about you when you act this way? Are they going to be resentful towards you? Are they going to invite you back to the next Christmas dinner? Are they going to want to be your friends? So acting in this sort of way, this sort of parasitic way, where you're not reciprocating, you're not contributing, that will have long run consequences that can come back to bite you. So you might think you get some short range satisfaction by acting in this way. Maybe in the moments you don't have to trouble yourself with the dishes, but in the long run,
Hmm.
there could be consequences that you don't like. And overall, if you consider the net results on your life as a whole, not just range of the moment consequences, it might actually seem to be a self-destructive sort of way of acting if you're just parasitizing off of others. So it's
Thank,
not really self-interested.
thank you. Okay, so you're saying in this example, it's likely that you have a you're on the principle of of benefiting from others without offering value in return. So it's not a trader principle. It's not a TRADER trader principle of value for value. It's a I seek values from others without thinking about how they about value in return. I don't think in terms of value for value or win-win. I just think in terms of I don't give. And you're saying that if you play the scenario through, that leads to long-term bad consequences, and therefore it is not self-interested, right? That's yeah.
Exactly.
I'm with you. And thank you for that. And so one objection here, many inner this is coming from a Kantian view. Forget that. I didn't say that. Uh, um, Inorganic intelligence, there's one aspect of organic intelligence I disagree with is an upholding of something called nishkam karma, and I won't do a polished explication of what that is, but I'll just say there's an idea that you have to do what's right because it's right, not because it benefits you. So someone with this idea may come in and say, okay, I think you have a plausible thought there, Dr. Norton, that the guy who doesn't wash the dishes in return or help prepare pitch in, he's not being selfish because long term it's not to his self-interest. He's missing opportunities for genuine relationships, and being on the value for value principle is actually very selfish long term. I'm willing to I think that makes sense. At the same time, I think you should wash the dishes and pitch in to the family, to the cleaning, because it's the right thing to do, not because you'll benefit. So offering a self-interested justification for the action is just wrong. Why should you help other people? Why should you clean the dishes? Because that's the right thing to do, because unselfishness is good, and it should not be grounded ultimately in service to your self-interest, even though in reality it could be. It is in your self-interest, but it's the wrong justification. You really have to wash the dishes because it's good to be unselfish, not because it actually benefits you long term.
Yeah, so to that I would just say why.
Yeah,
So
damn. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
uh, I think if you're going to claim, well, this doesn't benefit you in any way, then it seems kind of odd, at least on its face. Like, I mean, imagine you tell me right now, um, I don't know, twiddle your thumbs for 3 seconds and then do 6 jumping jacks and then sit back down and continue this conversation with Bach. Why? What good does that do me, or does that do anybody, right? So I think there's a burden on you if you're going to give me some advice on what I should do, but you give me no reason to do it, then I think, at least on its face, it's not clear why I should take that seriously, listen to it.
Okay. I
It
it
sounds like maybe it's a sort of religious, dogmatic approach, just doing something without any reason, without any explanation. Take it on faith that this is something you should do. Well, that's throwing I mentioned reason in the beginning, reason, egoism.
Yeah.
That's part of going by reason. You don't just do something without a reason. That's throwing your mind out. But I think
Yeah.
it's good to follow your mind, not abandon it.
Th Thank you. So I think you're saying, to the person who would say you should help out and with the dishes because it's the right thing to do, not because you benefit. Your response was that justification is arbitrary, and you see that if you really choose an example where you actually don't benefit at all, like randomly twiddle your thumbs for an hour or whatever the example was, uh, uh, with no benefit, then you would see, okay, why would I do that? And so the person who's saying that about the dishes is sneaking in benefit to justify the action while trying to deny it. And you have to really not cherry pick your examples, I think you're suggesting. Or I don't know if you're, but it's important not to cherry pick your examples, of choosing examples where you actually do benefit when you're trying to argue that benefit to you should not matter. If benefit to you should not matter, then you should really stand with examples where you really don't ever benefit and really see if you think that's plausible, right? To do.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking that I was explicitly that that's what I was doing, but I think
Okay.
that might actually state explicitly what
Okay.
was entailed in my example. So if maybe the person is smuggling in sort of some kind of benefit to myself, but if we assume that the only maybe there is some benefit, maybe not to me, like maybe there's no clear benefit to me if I just twiddle my thumbs for a few minutes and then stop. Let's say there is some benefit, but not to me, only to other people. So if I do agree to wash the dishes, not because it somehow benefits me in the future by perhaps getting the goodwill of the person for whom I wash the dishes. Um,
Mm.
if there's no benefit for me in the short run or in the long run from doing something, if there's only benefits for someone else, then why should I do it? It's not clear to me that there's a good answer to that question.
I see what you're saying. And then, yeah, well, I agree with you, of course. And I think if people resist, so some people, many people would resist what you're saying and think, well, you should wash the dishes even if you never benefit long term. And if they say that, I would challenge them and say, should you walk to a random house in the neighborhood and volunteer to wash their dishes instead of the dishes in your family's house? And if you say, no, you should wash the dishes in your family's house, that is kind of getting at the idea that you're appealing to the idea that there's some benefit, right, in maintaining good family relationships. That's why you would focus on washing the dishes in your family's house where you have the meal, as opposed to leave it, that those dishes are yours to deal with. I'm gonna go benefit someone who doesn't have any benefit to my happiness. I'm gonna go to a stranger or my enemy and wash their dishes, or under a tunnel of with people who hate me and wash their dishes. That would be a stark unselfish, right? I think it's important. Yeah, if you're really trying to think honestly about, do you think doing things that don't benefit you now or in the long run is good? You really have to focus on those examples, not secretly, even subtly or sneakily bring in long-term benefit to yourself, right? That's my I'm adding. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good example of contrasting helping your own family with dishes versus some random person down the street or someone on the other side of the world. Now, if you really want to be consistent, why is it that we look up, or not me personally, but in general, the culture looks up to someone like Mother Teresa and sees her as a saint? She didn't just stay in her own home or her own neighborhood. She goes all the way over to India, and not just temporarily, spends her entire life there, or at least a large portion of her life, helping these random people in another part of the world. And she's admired as a saint for this. Why? Well, because she's given up so much. She's sacrificed so much in a way that it's not clear that it's benefiting herself in the end, or in the long run. Um, so I think yeah, the more extreme you make the case, the the less clear why it is you should do this.
Mm.
Now, some people might say, I don't we this is somewhat of a different issue. I don't know if you want to go there, but someone will say, well, actually, everyone is selfish all the
No,
time,
yeah,
even Mother Teresa.
yeah, may I cut in? So I
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
That's the objection I was going to raise. So let me present that objection using the dishes example, and then have you respond to it. May I? So I'll set you up for what you want to do, I think. So many people will say, let's go back to the scenario where everyone else in the family is washing dishes. You're the one on the couch playing video games or whatever. All of you are being selfish. There's no such thing as unselfishness. You're on the couch not doing dishes because that's what you want to do. That's what's most pleasurable. The people who are washing dishes, that is most pleasurable or least painful, or they're avoiding the guilt. Maybe they don't want to wash the dishes, but they would feel guilty if they didn't wash the dishes, so they're minimizing their guilt. Whatever they're doing, it's maximizing their pleasure, or in the case of only painful options, they're doing the thing that is the least painful, and that's a selfish thing. So all behavior is selfish inherently. There's no such thing as unselfishness. That, yeah, can you please? We only have a few minutes. I want to talk to you forever. But I'll go a few minutes over, which is always happens with Rena and me. But I'll cut it because I do want to maintain some kind of boundary about the half hour. But go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'm not in a hurry to leave, but of course, if you want to wrap it up soon,
Well,
that's
we
fine.
can do this again in the future. But I'm trying to keep the tradition. Like,
Sure.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So there is this idea. People often will argue that everyone is selfish, just perhaps in different ways. And I don't think that's right. And so, an example that I sometimes give, I don't know if I can. Maybe it's better to try it with your example of the dishes.
If
But
you
I'm more,
can, if you can, please, 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 please.
yeah.
But no. Yeah, it's hard. I
So,
know.
okay, well, yeah, let me, I thought of a way maybe I can
Okay.
discuss. So there are different mindsets you could have when you're doing the dishes. So maybe we can take two different family members, both of whom are doing the dishes, but one is doing it in an emotional sort of way, maybe out of fear that if if she doesn't do the dishes, she's going to be scolded or sneered at. People are going to be upset with her, and another person is thinking more. They're not motivated by a fear, some sort of emotion. Rather, they're thinking, well, I benefited from this meal, which other people contributed to making, and um, it's in my long-term interests to contribute something, and then maybe I'll get more benefit. I mean, this already came up before, but I'm just trying to show how you can be doing the same action, but from different motives. One
Okay.
out of fear, and one out of long-term thinking. And I would say if you're just doing it, if you're just going by emotion, that's not a self-interested um, mindsets from which to be performing some action. Um, Emotions can't see the future in the way that your reason can. So you might be, um, there can be negative consequences from acting in an emotional sort of way, as distinct from an irrational sort of way. And maybe I can elaborate on that, but I know we're winding down here,
Well,
so I'm just going to pause there.
no, yeah, I'm having an emotion right now. Well, I'm having a desire right now. The desire is I want to keep going with you right now. At the same time, I have reasons for trying to keep this to like half an hour. Um, that's very interesting. I'll close it right now, but then you and I will talk, and I'd like to talk to you more in the future. I know this is very short for you because I know your own live streams are multi-hour and mine are very short compared to that, but that's how I just do things. Um, so thank you, Dan, for joining me to discuss some Ayn Rand for Christmas, discussing selfishness, defending selfishness. I hope the viewers have things to think about. I'll put a link to your channel in the description. Um, and for the organic intelligence people out there, if you're interested in learning how to be more selfish, if that piques your interest and you want to do it in a way that is gentle on your biology, you can reach out to me for individual coaching sessions for Ayn Rand informed organic intelligence coaching. Um, to Dan, Dr. Dan Norton, last words from you. Anything that you want to say before we head out?
Merry Christmas to everyone.
Merry Christmas to everyone.
I hope you have a self-interested holiday, but what exactly that means, well, that's a big topic which we were starting to get into some, and I hope some of these things that we were saying will pique your interests, and that maybe you'll think about them further if this is a new perspective for you. So, thanks again for having me here. I appreciate it.
Perfect.